Welcome, everybody, and I'd love to welcome you to our national call. We have a very exciting call today, and before we get started, I just want to let you know that at any time you can write notes or converse in the chat room. All you have to do is hover across the bottom of your screen and hit chat. We will have time for questions and answers at the end of the call. So if you have questions, put them in the Q&A box, and we will certainly have time for as many as we possibly can. Tonight, I want to welcome you all to this special webinar and national call. We have recently come back from a visit to Washington, D.C., where we had a partnership with Moms Clean Air Force. And the partnership included our participation with them on their annual event called the Play-In in the National Mall, as well as participating in visits to members of Congress. So tonight, we thought it would be really nice and a lot of fun for you all to hear from Moms Clean Air Force and understand a little more about them, about our relationship. We've had a really positive relationship so far, and have co-branded a special fact sheet on climate change and the health of older adults, and we'll be getting you the link to that. It's a really powerful fact sheet talking about some really serious health impacts that climate change is producing that are a little different for older adults than the general population. So to get started, I'd like to introduce to you Tricia Sheehan, who is the National Field Manager. And as a part of her responsibilities of National Field Manager, she's responsible for field staff and volunteers across the country. And there she develops and deploys strategic plans that increase grassroots advocacy on key environmental issues. And I'm going to let Tricia talk to you a little bit about Moms Clean Air Force and who they are and how they have evolved over the years. So over to you, Tricia.
Thanks, Sherry. And first, before I get started into kind of the background on moms, I just want to say for anyone that is on the call that joined our Play-In for Climate Action, I just want to give a huge thank you for your support and participation. This is the first year that we've partnered with Elders Climate Action or even another organization in this kind of space. And from my perspective, I think it was extremely successful and really gave the message to our lawmakers on the Hill and in our meetings and in media that this is not, this doesn't just impact our kids' health. It doesn't just impact elders, but this is a multi-generational issue. And it was really wonderful to see us all coming together. We also had youth voices that were amplified to share this message that we need bold climate action now. So thank you to Jerry and Jen and Elders Climate Action for helping to push forward this partnership. I think it was very successful. So a little background for those who are not familiar with Moms Clean Air Force. We started in around 2011 as a resource on the internet for parents, moms, that were looking to get answers as to how air pollution impacts our kids' health. We started around the mercury and air toxic standard rule was being proposed at the EPA at that time. And basically what this standard would do is it would force coal-fired power plants to install scrubbers into their plants, which would then limit the amount of mercury pollution that was emitted into the air. And for anyone that doesn't know, mercury is a tetragen and it's a neurotoxin, and it gets into the baby's brains through pregnant women when they eat tuna. So that's why pregnant women are told not to eat a lot of tuna to hopefully lower the levels of mercury. So that was in 2011, and we quickly realized that we can't just provide information for moms about the issues. We also needed to help them feel empowered to take action. So we launched our field presence in a few states, and we've been rapidly growing. Since then, we now have over 1 million members across the country. We have field chapters throughout the country. We have both volunteer chapters, and Elizabeth will talk a little bit about how she's been leading in a volunteer capacity and now is on as a consultant. And then we also have paid staff throughout the country in specific states. We work targeting all levels of the government, from the EPA, White House agencies, to our members of Congress and to DC, to local city councilors and mayors. And we do it through, resources like what Jerry talked about, of creating these fact sheets that are very easy to read, that are not overly scientific. We make the words easy for our moms and our families to be able to get behind. We work really hard in amplifying the stories from impacted communities, helping them really shape their story so that it is impactful and meaningful when they're meeting with their elected officials. And we really encourage our members to create relationships and longer term relationships than just coming to DC, meeting with your member of Congress one time and then going back home. We encourage everyone to continue those conversations. If we bring you to DC, or if we come into your city and help you meet with your lawmaker, we like to say that the conversation doesn't stop there, that we want you to continue to meet with your lawmakers. I personally got involved in this issue because my own children were impacted from a chemical spill in 2012. So I've been doing this since then. I'm now the National Field Manager, as Jerry said. I spend a lot of time in DC on the Hill working with lawmakers to ensure that our children are being protected.
Thank you, Tricia. That was great, and it was a great background on Moms Clean Air Force, which I'm sure is of great interest to our members, and I know that you are in so many places all over the country. I'm going to introduce to you now Gabby Rivera, who is a regional field manager and also the manager of the Eco Madres program for Moms Clean Air Force. And we'll hear a little of her perspectives, and I'm going to turn this over to Gabby. She'll tell you a little about herself and her relationship with Moms Clean Air Force.
Hi, everyone. Buenas tardes. As Jerry said, I'm the regional field manager for Moms Clean Air Force, and I have the great opportunity to have an oversight, and I work specifically with the field. I manage the staff on the ground in Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, Florida, Michigan, the DMV area, Pennsylvania, and Iowa. So we have staff all over the ground, and so I have the great opportunity to not only work with like the field consultants, but I also get the opportunity to work with the volunteers themselves. And so this has just been an amazing opportunity to allow for us to continue to have a base of volunteers that are talking about these issues. But most importantly, it has also given me the space to be able to collaborate with Elders Climate Action. I've had the opportunity to meet with Jerry a couple of times. She came out to one of our events in Miami. We had her support where she attended one of our brunch, our cafecitos. We've also had some of your members attend in Arizona for a couple of roundtables. And so we've been actively partnering up with these when we have cafecitos and we have events. And for those of you that don't know what cafecitos are, that's actually a general term that we use in Spanish, specifically tailored towards the Latino community through our program Eco Madres. And so what it allows, it's a small intimate meeting where we come together, we talk about the issues that are impacting the community in both Spanish and in English. So we are tailoring that information to the needs of the communities that are impacted. And then we give the people who attend the resources so that they feel empowered and they are willing to share their stories. And so once that happens and we have a base of volunteers, we bring them out to DC. And that's exactly what we just did. We just wrapped up with our plan, where again, Jerry and and all of you wonderful members of the Elders Climate Campaign came. And so we had the opportunity to meet with our representatives and our senators and share personal stories. Because if there's anything that I can say is that the power of a personal story can definitely move mountains. When we sit in these offices, we can give representatives and senators statistics and numbers, and you will see their eyes just glaze over. But when you actually bring members of a community and you say, my child was impacted, I have trouble breathing, this is what's happening in my community, that definitely, they will bring down their sheets, they will listen with an intention, and they will act on that. And so that's essentially what we do. We empower members of the community to feel comfortable enough to share their stories and to come out. And I think just seeing it on the play, like during this last play-in, we had 27 states represented, and it was just incredible to see children playing around and across the ages. It was like an intergenerational aspect, which brought us all together, reminding us that one, and that we are in this together. And so it was just incredible to see the grandparents and the kids and the in-between. So it was just, you know, we had a plan, we had fun, we enjoyed what we did. And I think we enjoy it so much because we do it with so much passion. And so that sums us up. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabby. Tricia, I wonder if you would mind talking a little bit about the plan and why you do this and what it is, because I don't think too many people are really that familiar with it.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. So the Plan for Climate Action idea started about 6 years ago from a super mom in the Virginia area who had this idea, you know, because in the 60s we saw a lot of sit-ins and children can't sit in to the White House or the Hill. So we do a play-in. And so we take this idea of kids coming to DC playing, and we feature a concert. We used to do it in the Upper Senate Park, but we recently moved it to the National Mall. It's just for various reasons, it's much better, it's shadier. To do an event of this size there. So we bring anywhere between 500 and 1,000 members of Moms Clean Air Force to the Washington, D.C. area. We play on the lawn, and all of the games have a focus around climate action. So we had, you know, for example, we had cornhole, and it was branded Moms Clean Air Force, and I forget what the saying was on it, but like take aim for climate action, I think. And so the kids were throwing the beanbags into the holes. And just through the years, we've had various different activities that are focused around teaching the kids, you know, why we're coming to DC and what it is in a fun and inspiring way. We have a concert with Mr. G, who is a bilingual children's musician who sings specifically about climate action songs and engaging children. And we've had a really incredible partnership with him and his whole staff. So he comes every year, and then we hold a press conference with leaders across the country who are taking action on climate change. And through the years, we really worked on amplifying the voices of our members of Congress who are stepping out and putting themselves in front of the actions that are being taken to protect us from climate change. And then we go up onto the Hill for families that we fly in from across the country. Like as Gabby said, we had 27 states represented this year. We had about 150 participants that flew in from across the country that were not local. And we go up onto the Hill, we set meetings with our lawmakers. And this year we had a very specific ask when we went into these offices, and we were asking for the lawmaker to support the goal and the campaign of 100% clean by 2050. It's a campaign that I think many organizations are using. Today, our lawmakers in Congress hosted a press conference announcing this campaign. And so we've seen a lot of great engagement through those meetings on where the lawmaker sits on supporting 100% clean, kind of really taken in we we have the meetings, we take meeting reports, and then we use those in how we're going to engage continually with these offices. So I've been working to compile all of those reports from all of the meetings we've had, and we continue the conversation. We bring in stories of families that are being impacted directly from climate change, and then we continue to follow up with those offices and hopefully move them into a trajectory of really taking action on climate.
Thank you, Tricia. All right, so now you're going to hear from one of the Elders Climate Action members who came to DC specially for this event and the Elders Climate Action Day event on Friday that followed the play-in and the visits to members of Congress. I'd like to introduce you to Pat Roberts from Gary, Indiana, and this was her first visit of this kind, and she's going to give you her perspective and what went well, and maybe whether or not she would like to do this again in the future. So over to you, Pat. Thank you.
Well, I'm ready to do it again next week. If anybody's ready for that, I doubt it, but I'm a new member of the Elders Climate Action Group, and when I saw this Washington, D.C. meeting, I didn't really know what to expect. I just knew that I wanted to have my voice heard. I have grandchildren, and my children and my grandchildren and my future grandchildren, great-grandchildren need to have a voice, and I need to be that voice at this point in my life. I think that's what the Elders Action Network is all about, and as a subset of the Elders Climate Action is for those of us for whom climate is the issue. The event was amazingly well organized. You all, the moms, I can't give you enough kudos. And I think it was Gabby that said the passion that you have for it came through. I mean, you could just feel it in every moment. The first night we had training, and that was perfect because I've never done this before. I've never talked to a legislator. I didn't know what to say. So I felt very well prepared going into the meetings. The next morning was the play-in, which was, again, so well organized. Speakers and Mr. G and the kids playing and lots of red t-shirts everywhere, making a splash, having our voices heard. So I was told it was on the local news in DC. I don't know if you all knew it was or not, but so the play-in made news. And then I had this wonderful guide named Andrew who took myself and another elder around to the Capitol meetings. Another thing that I'm amazed at is who organized all these meetings for all these people. Now you got to realize there's like hundreds of people in red shirts and kids and elders, and everybody's got a meeting set up. It was incredible. I'm from Indiana. I met with my US Senator in person. I never thought I would see the actual senator, but I sat with him for like 20 minutes. I saw policy experts from my other senator and my representative. And in each case, I felt like I was heard. I don't know. I'm from Indiana. I don't know what to say about that other than that I hope I was heard. But it was a very empowering experience. Let me just say that. And then the next day, and by the way, if you come, be sure to wear comfortable shoes because you will be walking from this side of the Capitol to the other side of the Capitol and back and forth and back and forth. And here's the thing. I didn't have this personally happen in my meetings, but in some meetings, there were 3 generations. There were the grandmas and the moms and the kids. And I can't imagine anything more powerful than that, to be a voice intergenerationally. That's why I'm so excited about this partnership. The final day was the Elders Action Committee day, where the elders got together and had some speakers. And speaking of intergenerational, the 16-year-olds that are doing this work, there were 2 16-year-olds and 1 17-year-old that I wanted to vote for president for right now, because they were so well spoken, so well informed, so passionate, and gave me hope. So I will definitely do it again, and I would encourage anybody who cares about the climate to do it again. I hope there'll be another partnership coming up to do it again, because I think the intergenerational aspect of this is incredible.
Thank you so much, Pat. That was powerful. I need to say for myself, when I first retired, I made a decision. Well, first of all, when I first retired, my children, my adult children, they laughed at me and said, "Yeah, you'll be working within 6 months." And I said, "No, no, no. I'm just going to find something that I'm very passionate about, and that's what I'm going to focus on." And I did, and it wasn't climate change. It was gun control, which is something I am truly very, very passionate about. And I was working on that for about 6 months. And then I looked at my grandchildren and I saw what was going on, and I realized that this was way more important, that climate change really, that nothing else could be resolved if we don't take care of climate change, that is it. And my grandchildren, for those of you who know me, are probably the most important things in my life. And I will go to the ends of the earth to make sure that they in fact have a thriving planet to live on in the future. So, and I wasn't planning to really say this, but this has been a very powerful experience for me. It was very different going to meet with members of Congress as an elder with moms, dads, 10-year-old, 2-year-old. It was a totally different experience than we have had in the past when we go as elders alone. Just that message that, you know what, it's from 2-year-olds to 90-year-olds, we're all in this together, and we've got to really, you've got to listen and take action. And I'm not sure, but I felt as though maybe I was heard, or we were heard a little bit better than previously. We'll see on that, but it felt a little different for sure. And so now I'd like to introduce you to Elizabeth Houtman, who has been a Moms Clean Air Force volunteer for 7 years and is from Michigan, and now is a field consultant for the state of Michigan. So Elizabeth, please go ahead and let us know what you do and your experiences.
Okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to say that I completely understand Pat and Jerry's experience, because that's how I got involved. One of the things I love about Moms Clean Air Force is that they hooked me with their nap time activism and their mom partisan attitude. It was a great way for me to have opportunities to meet with both sides of the aisle, talk about the concerns in a local as well as a national level. I actually started when that MATS campaign started, and it's funny how we're still kind of working through that, but the relationships that we've gained with lawmakers and other climate groups, I very much value, and I feel like coming from a supermom position now into a field manager position, I really truly understand how those relationships have really made movement in my state, and I really felt listened to, and it was very empowering. That word has been used a lot, but it is the truth. When you have an opportunity to see these families and share your stories, and just a little background about me, my son suffers from asthma and poor air quality. affects his daily activity. This kid is healthy most days, and when we have the poor air quality index, we can look at him needing breathing treatments and those type of aids. Other than that, he's a really healthy kid, and unfortunately, children and our older adults, they bear the brunt of these, disproportionately bear the brunt of these problems. And I felt like this mama bear needed to protect them from these, upcoming climate crises that we are facing right now. So I have really enjoyed this opportunity to come onto the other side, and it feels great empowering other moms and people in my community, and it's one of my favorite things to do. I'll end my time there.
Thank you. Thanks, Elizabeth. Can you tell us what's a super mom?
Well, super mom gets opportunities. So a field manager like myself or Trish or Gabby would get in touch with me and let me know about upcoming events or opportunities for me to meet with my lawmakers. Or, for example, I had an opportunity in Dearborn to testify before the EPA about the emission rollback that was being proposed. And I had an opportunity to have on record my family's story and my concerns. Being a supermom gives you those opportunities. For example, myself, there was a congressman in coffee event that was happening in Brighton, and I recruited 2 new moms, and we went to that event, and we had an opportunity after the congressman had her talk with everybody. We tried to get our question in, but we weren't called on, and I just took the opportunity to walk up and introduce myself, the other moms, and we thanked her for her vote on the MATS amendment, which basically just gave us a face-to-face with her. And she was funny. She recognized the shirts, which was really cool. She didn't know much about us at that time, but we've taken the opportunity since to give her more information about Moms Clean Air Force and all the partnerships that we have here in Michigan.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to hear now from another Elders Climate Action member, Frances Stewart, who has been with Elders Climate Action for quite a while, is very, very active. She's a retired physician. She's now a climate reality leader, an ECA volunteer on our marketing and communications committee. And before the last election, she was very involved with the Environmental Voter Project in their Get Out the Vote campaign. So without anything further, I'd like to introduce you to Frances, who can talk about some of her experiences with the play-in, the congressional visits, and then the ECA day. So Frances, to you.
Thanks, Jerry. This is my first opportunity to do a play-in. And I have to say, of all the things I've done for climate action, all the things I think I might do in the future, that definitely has been the most fun that I've had. I was running a little bit late getting the play-in because I took a wrong turn out of Union Station. I'm local, I'm in Bethesda, Maryland, so just coming by the metro. And I get there and Jen says, okay, the elders are all over there. Next thing I know, Leslie's putting monarch butterfly wings on me. And I'm part of a skit and flying around, so to speak, around the mall, and then donating my wings to a 5-year-old. And then helping to do a video with the Sing for Climate song. And then, getting a chance to meet other people, to talk to folks who work in my area, to network on other things that we might do later in the year. If it had just been the play-in, that would have been plenty. The play-in was a wonderful experience, but we had a little bit of time to go up to the Hill and to kind of regroup before we went to the congressional offices for Lobby Day. I'm from Maryland, and with one exception, the Maryland delegation is very, very good on climate change, and that one person didn't agree to see us for whatever reason. My lobby team of 12 people, ranged in age from 18 months to 80 years. It was my fourth time up on the Hill, and I also had lobbied in Annapolis, our state capital, on state legislation. But this one was really pretty different. There's something about taking an 18-month-old with you that kind of changes the dynamics of what goes on. And I think all of our members of Congress, staff, and senatorial staff, we only saw one member of Congress, Steny Hoyer, who's the minority whip, second in line to Nancy Pelosi, because it was an extremely busy day in Congress. But seeing the staff is a great thing to do because the staff are there every single day. So if you can convince the staff that what you're asking for is what you need, that may even be better than just seeing a member themselves. One thing that surprised me a little, we talked to everyone about our main ask, about getting down to 100% clean energy, or up to 100% clean energy by 2050. But one of my teammates, who's a public school teacher here in Montgomery County, Maryland, was really interested in a Senate bill for climate change education. We went to see my representative, Jamie Raskin, and talked to his staff about, why is this bill in the Senate but not in the House? They said, well, I don't know. I never heard of it before, because there's a huge number of bills. The next day, when we were at Elders Climate Action Day, that staff member came up to me at the end of the day and kind of whispered in my ear, there is a House version, and Representative Raskin co-sponsored it this morning. So even when you've got a great member of Congress, like I'm fortunate to do with Representative Raskin, talking with them and letting them know what you're specifically interested in can show benefits even in the very short term, less than 24 hours. And I was really very pleased with ECAD, our Elders Climate Action Day. I love acronyms. One of the things we really want to do is to bring people together who live here in the DC area. I think we made a lot of progress with that. Looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to being a butterfly next year.
Thank you, Frances. So you've heard from several people and how the experience was good. I actually I'm from Florida. I met with my two senators' aides, legislative aides, and my congressperson. I was able to meet directly with him. And he actually is a person who's very concerned about taking any action on climate change or clean energy because he feels very strongly that it kills jobs. So we've got our work cut out for us in that respect. And our two senators, we had a great conversation and a slight tilt in the right direction in terms of really, admitting that, yes, there is climate change, which is different than it has been in the past. So, and it was a great experience. We had, as I said, a 2-year-old and a 10-year-old. The 10-year-old had a little bit of responsibility to be the documentarian and make sure we all got a picture taken. And the 2-year-old just chilled on the couch. And it was very, very positive. I think that we may have been heard, and at least we were attended to, and got the appointments, and they were pretty well on schedule. So that was really good. I'd like to open it up a little bit for some Q&A. We have a couple of questions. One is, how can we as elders get our children, nieces, nephews, etc., introduced to Mom's Clean Air Force so that they can protect their children and our grandchildren? I don't know who wants to take that one. Who can connect?
I can answer, yeah. Would it be appropriate to share my email in the chat?
Certainly.
And then anyone that is listening and wants more information can definitely reach out to me, and I can connect you with the appropriate person, whether we have someone on the ground in your state. And I think this folds into the second question, which is, if you're not in my state, how can we get started? We're always looking to grow our voice and our message across the country. We're not limited to just where we have funded chapters, and we do work with volunteers. So I can also point you in the right direction. If you are interested in starting a volunteer chapter, in your state, and connecting you with other people that are on the ground, you know, and to have you join the fight with them. So I will type my email address in there, and then anyone that's looking to get more involved or learn more about Moms Clean Air Force, please do reach out to me.
Great, thank you. And you could always, if you forget that email address, send an email to info@eldersclimateaction.org, and we'll make sure that information gets to the right place. And certainly in places where there's a Moms Clean Air Force presence and an ECA chapter, we can certainly do some work together. I know in Arizona, the Moms Clean Air Force is very well connected with the Arizona ECA chapter. And in fact, the Arizona chapter is working on some 5 town hall meetings in Arizona during the recess. And I know Moms Clean Air Force is going to be participating in those also with us. So it's a great opportunity, and there's no reason that that we cannot continue to work together. I had an experience a couple of weeks ago with a younger person who wanted his parents to get involved. They live in Florida. He wanted his parents to get involved with Elders Climate Action. However, English is not their primary language, and they don't really speak, they're not comfortable in an English environment. So I referred them to the Moms Clean Air Force person, knowing that we have a lot of Spanish-speaking moms in Moms Clean Air Force in Florida. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a young person to be involved with Moms Clean Air Force. You have older members, and we have younger members. So we're all in this together, and we all have the same vision and the same mission. So let me see if we've got some more questions. The one question is, were any parts of the Elders Climate Action Day videotaped, and is there a way we can access them to be able to experience at least part of that that gathering? I believe there were some videotaped portions of that, and eventually they will be up on our website. Gabby.
Oh, I simply just wanted to add to a comment you were saying that, we had a younger group of people, but then you don't always have to be a parent. I myself don't have any children, but I'm an aunt, and I care about the well-being of my niece and my nephew, and that's how I got involved. And so not only that, but I get to do it in both English and in Spanish. And I think if there's anybody out there that doesn't speak the language, please send them my way. I'm happy to plug them in and connect them to all the resources, the information, and the right field consultant. And I also am a strong supporter of sending a house party or a cafecito in a box. Happy to jump on a call with you, review all the materials so that you can get started on your own and plug you in with the right volunteers.
Thank you, thank you. So somebody is asking how they could get a Moms Clean Air Force chapter or group started in their area where there is none. Is there somebody who would like to sort of address that?
Yeah, and I think just to reiterate, you can email myself or even Gabby, and we likely have volunteers on the ground in your state. We just don't have a formal chapter launched. But if it's something that you're passionate about and want to launch a formal chapter, we do have volunteer-based chapters, even if we don't have a funded position leading that charge on the ground. And we can work with you. As Gabby said, we send out a package of materials and work with you to make sure that you're taking action in your state, your voice is being heard, and give you kind of the tools that you need to be able to really make sure that we're out there and engaging with our lawmakers and making change in our communities.
Thank you. I must say that if you go on the Moms Clean Air Force website, they have a ton of resources, some really well-designed fact sheets that are very, very easy to understand, very useful, that, elders can take them with them when they go to, events. And they're very, when you're talking about grandchildren and children, there's also the combined climate change and the health of elders fact sheet that's available too. So use the resources that are there between the Elders Climate Action website and the Moms Clean Air Force website. There are so many resources available, or people to reach out to should you need. There's an opportunity that may surface, and that could be a Moms Clean Air Force ECA combined chapter. And that's something that, you know, it may just happen over time. And that would be really exciting to see. Somebody would like to know what did you actually do at ECAD, at Elders Climate Action Day 2019? Who would like to answer that? Either Pat or Francis. You know, what was the day, the Elders Climate Action Day, like on Friday, on that Friday? Francis, you want to take that?
I can do at least part of that. We had a lot of things going on that day. One of the highlights of the day was our congressional speakers. We had Representative Don Beyer from Northern Virginia, who was able to come and do a talk for us about his, you know, how he got into climate action and the work that he's doing. He has a bill currently in Congress with my Senator Chris Van Hollen on a cap and dividend proposal. We also were hoping to have our sponsor for the day, Representative Jamie Raskin, my representative, but Jamie had a truly good excuse. He was chairing a House Oversight Committee on the crisis at the border with the children. At the time he was supposed to be speaking to us, we sent his environmental aide, Taylor, to talk with us. In addition to the congressional talks, we had videos from several of our chapters about what they're doing and how they evolved their programs. We had some cool little exercises to get to know each other and to share more about what our lobby days had been like. Probably, I think the biggest highlight of the day was the youth panel. We had 3 young women, the 2 16-year-olds and 17-year-old who were mentioned earlier, who live a few miles from me and who are very involved in climate action. 2 of them are the DC chairs of the U.S. Youth Climate Strike. And they're going to have a big event coming up in September that we'll be collaborating with them with. And they are incredibly passionate, enthusiastic, and knowledgeable and doing a great job, and also a whole lot of fun to work with. I had the unexpected privilege of being able to go most of the way home with them on the subway, both for the lobby day, because they were part of our lobby team, and on the Elders Climate Action Day. And they were a huge amount of fun to spend time with. And when we were on our way to the subway, we had to break off and go back because we had not occurred to me or probably anybody else that the 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds would want Elders Climate Action hats, but we had to go back and get those for them. So they were a lot of fun to work with, and they do, and not just a lot of fun, they do a tremendous job. They're wonderful, and we're really looking forward to continuing to work with them.
Thanks, Francis. Another question is, what particular issues right now are the primary focus or the biggest focus for Moms Clean Air Force?
Elizabeth, do you want to turn to answer a question? Not to put you on the spot.
Can you unmute?
There we go. Got it. Yeah, a couple of things. We're definitely going for the 100% clean energy by 2050 is one of the goals. The other one is making sure that the MATS, which is the mercury and air toxic standards, doesn't get rolled back. We are also working with, there's a proposed emissions rollback as well. that has been circulated that I mentioned earlier that I testified about in Dearborn. And those have been our three main focuses currently that Moms Clean Air Force has been, targeting with our lawmakers, and also voicing to our communities about what's going on at the federal level. And then depending on what's going on in each state, there are also targeted to whatever is going on in, for example, in Michigan, we have PFAS that is going on, which is a chemical that has been put into our waters. We also, being the Great Lakes state, we have a lot of fish that we can't eat because of the mercury that is in our water, in our fish, that our moms can eat. So there is a linkage always with the federal message and our local message, and that definitely helps when we bring this out to our community. I hope that helped.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Another question is, does Elders Climate Action provide ways for us to contact our members of Congress to ask for climate action if we can't go to Washington, D.C.? And I'll answer that question. Yes, we absolutely do. We have several different strategies, one of which is we have generally an ongoing letter writing campaign that's available, where it's a pre-formatted letter that you add your own comments to, and when you sign it, it goes directly to your members of Congress. So that's one way. That letter changes over time, depending on the focus at any moment, but that's always available, and it's available on our website. The other is through our newsletter, we generally have some action that you can take, whether it's contacting members of Congress locally. Your members of Congress spend time in your states, in their districts, and that's an opportunity to meet with them or their staff when they're in your state or in your local district. So that's another opportunity, and we have some tips on how to frame a conversation with them. So those are all available on our website. We have an action toolkit, which is, if you go to the website and go under, you look at our action toolkit, you'll see a lot of resources there that are available for you. So that's a way that you can contact members of Congress locally or nationally. You don't have to go to DC to do it. Does Moms Clean Air Force have any presence in Northern California or any chapters in Northern California? Who would like to take that one? Tricia, thank you.
No, go ahead, Gabby. You have connections to California, so I'll let you answer. Go ahead.
Okay, got it. Not only is California very special and dear to me, it's my home state. So we don't have an active field consultant in Northern California, but we do have a base of volunteers throughout California. As a matter of fact, just last week we had a cafecito where we engaged with our interested group, and they hosted their cafecito. It was in the heart of downtown LA. That's a Southern California aspect. Even further south in San Diego, we have some volunteers that are interested in it, will be engaged. So you tell me where you're at, and I will make sure I plug you in with the right connections.
Thank you, Gabby. Another question is for both Moms Clean Air Force and Elders Climate Action, do you plan to have a presence or take part in the September 20th climate strike? From Elders Climate Action, I can tell you we are working with the climate strike groups and with 0 Hour, and we will be participating with them. Certainly, and we are planning a week of action from September 20th to the 27th, and that week of action will consist of the strike on the 20th. On the 21st, Northern California is having a gathering, a day-long gathering in San Francisco that all are welcome to attend, and then there will be actions that we will be putting out throughout the rest of that week. in combination with and in cooperation with other organizations. And I'm not sure who wants to address that, Tricia, for
Yeah.
Moms Clean Air Force.
So we will be supporting and encouraging our members, moms, to stand with their youth strikers, you know, children, everyone to participate in the actions, both in New York and across the country, that are happening in their communities. We also want, and we're kind of just fleshing out this idea now, to do a fly-in similar to our play-in, and bring in youth activists with their parents or guardians to Washington, D.C. to meet with our lawmakers in conjunction with the youth strike. So not only are we, you know, rallying in the streets in our communities and in New York, joining these larger events that are happening across the country, but we're also going to be meeting face-to-face with our members of Congress to make sure that the voices are being echoed both to media and then up into the halls of Congress in Washington, D.C. to ensure that we're covering all levels of government and really urging the action on climate.
Thank you, Tricia. And to reiterate that, it will be important in your home districts to all communicate with your senators and representatives during that week, whether it's a targeted day or just during that week, but to really reinforce the issue. It is not a youth issue. It is not an elder issue. It's not a child. It's an everybody issue. And I can tell you from working with the climate youth activists, they are an absolutely amazing group of young people. They're, you know, very well versed. They know exactly. They're very passionate. They know how to say and how to get their message across very, very clearly. There's no hiccups in what they do and how they say it. They're really very, very eloquent, as well as very passionate, and clearly concerned about their future, because they're going to really experience some very serious consequences if there is no action taken soon. Let me see. I don't see any other questions. Does anybody on the panel want to add anything to what we've said so far? We have a little bit of time if people want to. Jen.
Well, I haven't said anything this evening. I've been the behind the scenes host. But I think one thing I wanted to share is just a little bit of my perspective as a Gen Xer. I don't fall into the elder category yet. I consider myself an elder in training as the Director of Operations for Elders Climate Action. And I look forward to having as fulfilling and rewarding elderhood as you all are having by making the choices that you're choosing by being here. But one of the things that I wanted to share about my experience was I couldn't believe the warmth and the feeling of family that we had while we were in DC working as Elders Climate Action, working with Moms Clean Air Force. From the minute we walked through the door, Moms Clean Air Force treated the Elders Climate Action family like we were all part of a big, huge family. My particular delegation from Arizona was my mother and I. My mother is an Elders Climate Action member. And then a large group, I think we were 14 adults, three toddlers and a 4-month-old baby. And my mother and I were the only two that English was our primary language. So that was just really a wonderful experience to walk into and feel this sense of family and this sense of support with such generosity and then also such diversity. There was just a very, very diverse group of people from all over the country. There was one family, I believe is Native American, and maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but they brought 4 generations of family, and she was telling me that it used to be 6 generations of family. And to me, that was phenomenal to learn that 6 generations of one family we're working together to protect their future generations of family. And it gives me chills to talk about. I get a little emotional and choked up because I felt such a strong sense of camaraderie with all the people there that it was really hard to say goodbye. And in most cases, I didn't. I think I just left and hoped that I get to see all those people again some other time, because otherwise there might have been some tears. But I thank you for inviting us all in. I thank everybody for allowing me to be here, because I don't fall in a mothers or an elders category. I'm just somebody who really cares about the climate. So yes, it was just a really wonderful experience. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank all of our panelists. I'd like to thank Moms Clean Air Force for being such wonderful partners. And as Jen said, it was like family. And really, helping us engage in those days with them as an intergenerational group. And my hope is, as we close, that we all here, our children, our grandchildren, and you all who are quite a bit younger, will not be dealing with this ultimately, because we will have resolved these issues, and we'll be moving towards a really healthy, thriving planet. So I'd like to thank everybody. Anybody want to say a last word goodbye? That you have Moms Clean Air Force's web address in the chat, and you have ours. Any questions? If you have questions afterwards, please send them. If you don't remember the emails, just send them to info@eldersclimateaction.org, and we'll forward it to the right person. But we're very appreciative of your participating in the call, and we look forward to bigger and better things. And you know what? We will do this, and we'll do it because we need to do it, and it's the right thing to do. And your little boy will not be having to lose his mom to having to do this for the rest of her life, because it'll be done. So thanks, Tricia. Thanks, Elizabeth. Gabby.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Elders Climate, the members, and Jerry and Jen and everyone else. This was an incredible partnership, and I'm excited for what the future holds for us to continue this multi-generational voice, advocating for climate. Together we are doing more, and the play-in definitely showed that. So more to come.
Great. Thank you. We'll be sending out information on the Climate Action Week in the near future. You'll receive a copy of the recording, and there'll be some links in there that with some email addresses. Jen will put those in, so you'll have some more information. You'll get that within the next couple of days. So good night, everybody, and thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you so much.